Good day. Welcome to Westchester Talk Radio. I'm John Marino, and good to have you with us as always at WestchesterTalkRadio.com. We are produced by Sharc, S-H-A-R-C, Sharc with a C, not a K, Creative, our parent company, and we are made possible by our good friends at Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center, powering Westchester through April of 2021. Also by Lapolis Electric. You are never left in the dark at Lapolis. And Hightower Westchester. At Hightower, they manage your wealth to a fiduciary standard. This is our isolation therapy series as we work together to make it through the COVID-19 pandemic and more here. Westchester Talk Radio now joined by Amy Price. Amy Price is the CDO, the Chief Development Officer of YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester. Amy, we thank you for being part of Westchester Talk Radio. We had a chance to talk to Christina Altamari from the Board of Directors of the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester. I know the two of you work very concurrently on many YWCA matters, and yet you both kind of do your own thing. For example, you work with development of programs, funding, etc., and you're pretty much a new arrival to the YWCA, correct?
Correct. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, and it's great to work with the YWCA, White Plains and Central Westchester. I just feel very fortunate. It's an incredible team on the staff side and on the board of directors side, and getting to work with people who are smart and passionate and truly committed. It's very joyful, even at a time that is sobering. So coming into an organization during the time of a pandemic and coming into an organization that has focused for 90 years on eliminating racism and empowering women, both of which are completely intertwined, and you really cannot do one effectively without the other, is, I think, the most meaningful project that I've been able to work on ever in my career. You know, just
celebrating 90 years of service. And you got to my next question. I think you read my mind. I know how dedicated you are. I'm going to point that out right away. When you came to the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester, not only did you look at it, I think, as a work opportunity, you felt that your work would do a lot more. And it was almost like, in a sense, a volunteering opportunity, too, to combine work and volunteering together as one.
Well, yeah, that's true. Listen, here's the way I'm looking at it. This is a time that's very painful for a lot of people. It also is a time where, if we look carefully, there are great opportunities. I've been very lucky in my career. I have had some incredible mentors that have changed the trajectory of my career and my life, and have given so much. And so part of what I do is always look to mentor others and to give back. I just happen to have planned to begin working with the YWCA right as the pandemic began creating closures and ultimately furloughing a lot of the staff at the YWCA. And so that delayed my starting as a staff member. And what I did was, to me, completely logical. You just roll up your sleeves and say, what can I do to help? It was win-win. It's always easier, I believe, to focus on helping somebody else than it is to get mired in, oh, my life has changed. This is different. This isn't convenient. There's nothing convenient about COVID.
We know what a CEO does, what a CFO does. What does a CDO do? Chief Development Officer, especially at the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester.
It is the most exciting role, because what a Chief Development Officer does is really brings together the communications and marketing, the development, which is the cultivation of the community around you, and also the fundraising. So it really is about serving the mission of the organization, and serving it in a way where people understand what we're doing, and we are able to talk to people about their interests as they relate to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Information.
Do you look at it like, for example, we have this, and this. We need this, and this?
Yes, we need, but also what do you need? The YWCA is all about its community. There are just so many examples that I've experienced in the past weeks of how the YWCA truly cares about the people in the community, and so that's part of what we do is we reach out and we engage people. We want to know if everybody's okay. We want to know how we can help, and there's constant retooling and very serious discussions internally on how to make that happen.
You came on board at a unique time. COVID-19 had engulfed us, all the social justice issues, the incidents we've seen about, not even heard about, everything on tape. It's there. You can't deny it. You came at, for the YWCA's sake, just the right time. How did you feel on day one? Like, here I am, and we have this going on here, and this going on here, and this here, and this here. How did you step into it? What was job one at that point?
Job one was to find out where they were at the moment and really understand where they wanted to be. If my job is very strategic. And so it's really about having a very in-depth understanding so that you can see the opportunities and how to best capture those opportunities. It's all about the greatest benefit to the public. And so that's what I've gotten to do. And my heart was with the YWCA before I officially started. That helps. I was doing a lot of onboarding.
That I know. Yeah.
It's always great when you really like what you're doing and when it's personally meaningful. And this one takes my breath away. We are standing at a point in time that is so historic, and where the opportunities that could come out of it could be game changers for the next generations to come. And that's very much our hope, my hope. And so I think it is, yes, one of the most exciting times you can start. And it is strange to start a job. I'm sure I'm not the only one. To start a job working virtually, and not being able to be on site, and not getting to meet all of the members and see the activity that typically goes on.
Mm-hmm. We've all had to learn to adapt in every industry, this industry on this end here, also too, in the media. You find out that, yeah, you know what, you can do certain things that you thought you couldn't do before, maybe you didn't want to do before. Well, necessity creates invention, I guess. When we spoke with Christina Altamari, we touched upon how YWCA, White Plains, Central Westchester, but also all of Westchester, this community, this county of Westchester, how well do you see it serviced in certain areas? In what areas is the county best served and serviced now? And in what areas do we have a ways to go where you and the YWCA can and will make a difference?
There are so many different facets to what our YWCA does that I think it to me, it looks kind of like an iceberg, and you only see the tip of the iceberg above the water. And there's so much foundation under there that the YWCA is doing and working on. So in terms of where the opportunities are, it's incontrovertible that one of the most powerful services that we offer is to women. We have the largest women's shelter in New York State, the only one in Westchester of its kind. We house 193 women with all kinds of programs and services for them. These are women that have had all kinds of struggles and challenges and are getting back on their feet. They may have had poverty issues. They may have been incarcerated. They may have had substance abuse issues. They're working their way through them. They deserve a chance for better. And that's what this women's residence gives them. It's just something to be so incredibly proud of. And then on the other side of that, we have the services for childcare. And even during COVID, the building was used for the children of frontline workers. Mm-hmm. So that our daycare services, our camps, which of course are limited based on what we can do per the governor at any given time, but we are opening up extremely cautiously and carefully. It's going to be all about safety and experience. And we know that our people, that our community trusts us, because they know that we take every precaution that can be taken, and we respect the parents and their feelings as well. In addition, we have the fitness areas, which right now we're not allowed to open yet. So we've got the pool will be opening in some capacity for camp, but we're waiting to see what other things we can do. We've got the gym and different kinds of courses. And then we have all kinds of programs that are really geared toward providing information, training, and inspiration and community togetherness around empowering women and understanding what the needs are, and also eliminating racism of all kinds. And that runs the gamut. That runs from our signature Standard Against Racism program, which is an annual program that we run, and it's very powerful, a human rights breakfast that we do every year. We have a conversation program called Courageous Conversations, which is a very safe place to have very challenging and difficult conversations, even a reading program, Reading to End Racism. And we are also looked upon with our expertise as an office offerings, trainings and workshops on how to manage and eliminate racism within company workplaces and communities. And so that's something that we're very proud of. The YWCA, and this YWCA has been doing it for 90 years. It seems like the world is catching up to the need for it. So I think we are, in this time of COVID and the racial pain that we're experiencing, we are more relevant and more important than ever. I think when people are hurting and are vulnerable, it means that we have even greater chance of helping people.
You talked about making a difference in housing more than 100 women right now.
Yes.
How do you get that housing? How do you acquire that housing so that it's available? And walk us through that process, if you would. It's not like you knock on the landlord's door and say, I need a couple of rooms here. Can you give them to me?
Yeah, no, we actually, we own a building. And I really probably don't have the full picture yet on how, what the whole history is of the building, but that building is full right now, and we always maintain a list. We're always keeping it full. It has 193 rooms, staffed 24/7. And
in White Plains, is it?
It is in White Plains, and it's beautiful, and it has all kinds of services for people as a community that's come together and support each other, which is great. And by the way, John, and I'm knocking wood, but not one case of COVID. Every care has been taken, and we feel very fortunate because we really want to protect this population.
And you're able to build a facility, a living quarters like this, a building, through the generosity of many.
Yes. And I think that might be, people ask about working for a nonprofit. And I've worked both in the for-profit, nonprofit sector, having come out of marketing and advertising, and then building a career in nonprofit. And business, the foundations of the business, the principles are the same, but in nonprofit, we really rely on the generosity and goodness of others in order to be able to fund what we do, our product, our mission, if you will. That's the big difference.
And during these times, we have a pandemic, we have a serious racial and social justice situation. As I spoke about with Christina, you would think, especially because of the pandemic and there are fears associated with that, people would be stepping back. Instead, now people are stepping up.
Those that can are stepping up. I believe that we are an institution in our community. Nobody wants to see stable, long-time organizations like the YWCA leave the area. We have no intention of going anywhere, and we know that it's a challenge. Those that know what we do are stepping up, and they've been very generous. And we know that we still have a ways to go, and we'll continue to work on funding it. And again, the funding is to make sure that we can continue to provide the services that people are relying on.
Amy Price is the Chief Development Officer of the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester. Amy, during this COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm getting the impression certain people in certain parts of the country might think it's kind of over, the new numbers from Florida and places like California, Texas, Arizona, the warm weather states now, when we were kind of told it might die down at this time of the year. Instead, in the warmest states, it's really kicking up. In California again, and these other states really. Florida had somewhat of a problem earlier. They have a much bigger problem now. Texas, Arizona, other states out west, it's finally arrived out there as was expected. How can the YWCA serve locally here in Westchester best during this pandemic?
Well, the pandemic is a game changer. And what it has done for the YWCA is it has forced very serious conversations, difficult conversations. And I believe that ultimately what will come out of that is something even better than before, because it keeps us so relevant and in the moment. People have all kinds of needs right now, and our community and areas in Westchester have been so hard hit. We understand about the financial uncertainties people have. We understand about the health concerns and people that have lost loved ones through COVID. And we understand the fear of what is safe. Can I bring my child out? Should I go out? And you referenced, John, what's going on in the other parts of the country. I wish that they had been able to see what we were experiencing, last month in New York, because it was something so surreal. And to see it on TV, I don't think is the same thing. It feels very surreal. It's a very unusual time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That said, I don't really feel like we're going to suddenly not have COVID. I think we're going to learn to survive with it. We're going to learn to live with it. And hopefully there'll be a vaccine and better treatments. What that means for the YWCA is to really look at the core mission and talk to the members and community and find out how we make the most difference for them and find options that work for our people to be able to keep helping them with their child's care, with their activities and learning, and most of all, and obviously through the women's residence, which has really continued unabated, if anything, has really increased what we've done, and we always have food pantry through that. There are a lot of services, as I said there, but ultimately, we're just looking to make sure that we are here to meet the needs, and we are very lucky in Westchester. There are organizations that do great work, and we're very proud to team with other organizations as well. So again, we're looking not to duplicate, but to be a leader where we can lead and help other organizations that serve and help our people. And right now, two of those big ones is eliminating racism. Those conversations are difficult conversations, and it's complex, but we have a chance right now to move the needle. This is not a new conversation. This is just a new time. And the only way to truly empower women and help them have the best, most independent lives that they can have is also to eliminate racism. You really can't do one without the other. They're completely intertwined. When I think about this, it has occurred to me that maybe the reason that we're seeing the strength of this Black Lives Matter movement right now is because we are more, we're more housebound. We're living attached to our computers and our televisions, and instead of running around like we normally do and having our typical social lives, we're kind of glued to the news and the set. And there's a lot of anger, fear, and frustration tied to that. Those of us who saw what happened to George Floyd may have marginally or more than marginally been aware of other atrocities, but it has hit us all to the core. It has been a moment of complete clarity, and I think everybody agrees that something like that should not happen. That has allowed us to have some real conversations and listen. And I will tell you that every day I learn more. And one thing that I will say about the YWCA, the things that are difficult to talk about, they are talking about, we are working on internally. It starts with our own staff and our own team, and then it's brought forward in a productive way for the community. So the YWCA actually does what it says. It doesn't just talk the talk, it walks the walk. That's very admirable. It's not just words, John.
As we found out, the COVID pandemic, too, affects different communities in different ways. For example, not everyone is in a position to be able to do what we are doing right now, work from home, do what we have to do on a computer, on a tablet, etc., and stay as safe as possible. That's not reality for many.
No, and I'm glad that you brought that up, and I know we chatted about that before. The disparity in the way that COVID has impacted Black and brown skinned friends is completely not aligned with what has happened in other populations. There isn't a strong, in my opinion, there isn't a stronger demonstration of how unfair, unjust our system is. So this is happening for a reason, and it's happening because of socioeconomics. People living where the population density is much closer, much more people per area. It's about people that need to ride public transportation, buses, and subways, and can't just go to their country home to isolate. It's about people who have to work on the front lines, and it could be anything from being a physician or any kind of worker in medical care, to working in a supermarket, to being a supplier. But a lot of the people that we're talking about are really out there working hard. And why are they doing that? They have to be able to put food on their table and try to keep a roof over the heads of their families. And so they are very much at risk.
I read one story about a family, I believe in Washington Heights in Upper Manhattan, with 9 or 11 people crammed into one apartment, and one person in that apartment got COVID-19, and luckily they did not have to be hospitalized. But every move that she made, she would have to announce to everybody, okay, I'm coming out of my room now, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm coming out of my room now, I'm going to stop in the kitchen. And everybody else would just slam their door shut until she was done. Give it some time to pass through if it was passing through the COVID. And that's no way to live. You can't even step out of your own room like that.
It's true. And I give great credit to that family and everybody else that is in that situation. You know, it means that they have the challenges that everybody faces with COVID multiplied. It is harder when you are in a situation where you don't have as much space and where you don't have as many free funds, available funds. And yet people are working so hard. It takes every resource to do that. And I'm looking at the strength of conviction and the powerful love that people have for their families, that they will do anything. They are using every resource and bit of energy that they have to be able to make sure their families survive.
Amy Price is the CDO, Chief Development Officer at the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester. Amy, there was an event recently, a major event that turned out it went virtual. It was online. It wasn't the plan originally, but plans change, as they say. Tell us about that.
So it's called In the Company of Women, and it has been a mainstay annual program of the YWCA. And our YWCA has been recognized for this program. It has been awarded as the greatest networking opportunity in Westchester. And so we're very, very proud of it. And every year, 600 or more people get together, mostly women, but also men. And it is an inspiring, uplifting look at what women are accomplishing and people who are supporting women's rights are accomplishing and it's a great chance for people to network and get to meet others because we all have had a hand up at times. And if we can help people get those connections and get the hand up and the inspiration, that is part of our mission, and it's very fulfilling. This year, for everybody's safety, we had no choice. In order to hold it, we had to do something virtual. It was a very different kind of event, a different experience for us, but we loved it just the same. We had the chat room going because we knew that people wanted to reach out and network with each other. And at the same time, we announced that we've opened a closed Facebook group, which people can join. They can go onto our website or find us on Facebook, YWCA White Plains and Central Westchester, and ask to join the private Facebook group called In the Company of Women so that we can keep that dialogue going because so many people want that networking. We honored 4 absolutely exceptional people. It was Dr. Belinda Miles, who is the president of Westchester Community College, and she did our keynote, and it was inspiring and uplifting and yet sobering all at the same time. And again, it is very exciting to be around. It's people of such great intelligence and vision. Georgette Bovia, who people know from WAG Magazine and her role as an author and publisher and advocate, and Pat Keegan, who has worked for Nina Lowy for many years and has been such a huge supporter of not just the YWCA, but so many people and organizations in Westchester, and David Ringler, who is in the finance business and has really committed himself to helping nonprofits and helping connect people with nonprofits to support them. A very proud day for us.
And in honor of the virtualness of the event this year, it was officially called In the Virtual Company of Women, correct?
Yes, and it was virtually wonderful.
Whatever works nowadays, as they say, correct? And this certainly worked. You had, I guess, 92% of the original funding goal before you had to go virtual was achieved, and that's kind of like mission accomplished.
Yes, you never know what's going to happen with something where the format completely changes. And you also don't really know what people's capacity and ability feels like to them when there are situations going on. There was a text to donate drive during the event. Donations were coming in. We got up to 92%, and donations are continuing to come in. Our goal is to reach that 100%. And we're getting there, and we're just so grateful to everybody, and grateful also for the feedback that the program touched them, was meaningful to them, and is inspiring people.
Mm-hmm. To see numbers like that, 92%, thereabouts out of what the 100% goal was before the event had to go virtual, does that make you stop and look and say, the community understands the message, we are getting that message out, everybody's here?
It tells me a couple of things. It means that the community cares and wants this program to continue. It means something to them. It tells me that the people that we honored resonated not just with us, but far beyond the even people that necessarily knew us, that the respect that people have had, because these are people that have changed lives. They're game changers, just like we're change agents for the community. So it tells me that. And then the other thing that happened, John, is that a lot of the people that attended were from a broader geographic area. Because that's one thing virtual will do. Not everybody can buy a ticket and come for a day for a luncheon. There were people from across the country that also joined in, and that was exciting to us.
Mm-hmm. That's making an impact, and you know you've made an impact. We talk social justice. You've discussed much about what the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester is already doing and has done for decades, almost a century now, celebrating 90 years of service in the area of social justice. And yet now with you on board, there is more to come.
There is more to come, and I just have to keep up with the very smart people who I have the privilege now to work with. We have a CEO at the helm, Maria Imperial, well known in the area, very beloved, and I am experiencing personally every day exactly why she's so beloved. The organization, through and through, has a heart and a soul, and it cares. And it's demonstrated from the very highest levels all the way down and out and outward. And so to be embraced by that, and that's how I personally feel. I feel embraced. And every day I get up inspired to help make sure that other people feel that way too.
Mm-hmm. Now, for anyone who would like to get involved with the YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester, Amy Price, run down every possible contact opportunity: address, phone number, emails, website, etc. And when we say get involved, you can get involved in so many different ways, correct?
There are so many different ways to get involved. And of course, some of them are going to be based on what we can do COVID-wise. So we often rely on volunteers, and the volunteering opportunities will be COVID regulation dependent. But anybody who's interested in any of the kinds of programs and that we have can get in touch with us directly through the website or through any of our social media. So we have our website is YWCA.WPCW.org. So it stands for White Plains Central Westchester.org. And there's a contact page right on our website, and we always respond to that. We are very active on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, and so that's another way that people are getting in touch with us. And then within our programs, as you can see on the site, there are different staff members that are in charge of different areas. So if someone's interested in social justice, if someone's interested in childcare, if someone's interested in a particular event that we put on, we definitely want to hear from people. So it is people's interests, their input, serving on a committee, volunteering, and they could be single day events or long-term volunteers. It's really what suits people. The more the merrier. Of course, if there are people that are looking for ways to put their own philanthropic dollars to use, we're always happy to speak with them. They can get directly in touch with me or with Maria Imperial. And so my direct email address is aprice@ywcawpcw.org. And I think just those initial connections, we will channel them throughout.
Mm-hmm. Bottom line, it doesn't have to be money. Time is as good as money. Dedication is just as good as money.
And yes, and insights, and what people are thinking and feeling and experiencing is so important.
Amy Price, the CDO, Chief Development Officer, YWCA of White Plains and Central Westchester. Amy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard to the YWCA. And we already know the YWCA is in great, capable hands. Your dedication is amazing. All the best to you. Let's talk again.
Thank you. I would love to come back.
Thank you. Amy Price here in Westchester Talk Radio, westchestertalkradio.com. I'm John Marino. Our isolation therapy series here as we work together to make it through COVID-19 and everything else going on in our world and society right now. We are produced by Sharc, S-H-A-R-C. That's Sharc with a C, not a K, Creative. And we are made possible by our many good friends around the area, including Entergy, the Indian Point Energy Center. At Entergy, they promise to power us, to keep us empowered, keep the lights on through April of 2021. Lipolis Electric, don't be left in the dark. Get Lipolis. And Hightower Westchester, at Hightower, they manage your wealth to a fiduciary standard, along with our good friends at Wartburg Healthcare and Rehabilitation in Mount Vernon, Park Sterling Realty, and Labriola, Michael Labriola, Landscape Design and Construction. We thank you one and all for being part of Westchester Talk Radio.